So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And I just wanted to come on today, and I wanted to have a bit of a discussion because a lot of times when I'm doing post-match podcasts and stuff like that, when I look back and I look at all the beautiful and wonderful comments that you guys put in there, a lot of people often ask, well, why aren't I discussing about Ollie Watkins? So I said I'd just come on and I'd pop on for about 15 minutes and chat about Ollie Watkins, because I think it's important to stress that Aston Villa are a humming, wonderfully working machine currently at the moment. And arguably we're doing it without our striker. Well, not arguably, we are doing this without our striker in form. We're doing this without our striker scoring goals. And when you look at Man City, let's give them an example, who could potentially be favourites for the title. They're doing this the complete opposite way. They're doing it with the striker that scores a massively high percentage of their goals. And Aston Villa are doing this the opposite way. I think it's really interesting. So I think it's fair to say that Aston Villa probably have a striker problem at the moment. They've got now to form Ollie Watkins, who we've been told is injured. And we have 2 weeks until the transfer window opens. So I wanted to do this little podcast just, I suppose, discussing the importance of a striker within Unai Emery's system. I also want to talk about, Unai Emery's history of strikers that he has purchased previously. And this will lead into a specific series on what I'm going to have to admit will probably be lower cost strikers that could come in and maybe offer bang for buck. But there's no point in just doing that and saying, oh, look at this striker, I think that he would work in Aston Villa's system. You have to, like, the discussion point here has to be formulated as well around Ollie Watkins and getting him right at some stage, getting him back to a position whereby he was. He's got, 114 goal involvements for Aston Villa, I think, currently. We need to get him back to that form, if it means resting him, if it means surgery, if it means getting that injury right, so on and so forth. But let's pull this one back maybe about 12 months. Because a lot of the feeling towards Ollie Watkins, like Ollie Watkins has always probably been Marmite amongst the Aston Villa fans. I think that's fair to say. Most of Aston Villa's fans have liked Ollie Watkins. And there are a certain group of fans he's not been their cup of tea. And that's fine. This isn't me calling out any group of fans. Fan how you want. Obviously, everybody knows I've been very pro Ollie Watkins. This isn't me trying to create divides or anything like that. No, so this isn't me trying to create a talking point about something, just for the sake of it. But Ollie Watkins has been a very functional part of this Aston Villa team, specifically since Unai Emery came into it. He's been a linchpin for him. Unai Emery has picked him not because he's been, quote unquote, at times the only fit striker or whatever the case may be. He's picked him because he's been bloody good. And I think that's worth bearing in mind as well when we chat about this. But the reason I want to go back about 12 months ago is and I will continue to beat this drum because I don't have an awful lot of inside information about anything. But there was a throwaway situation. There was a throwaway comment by Jamie Carragher that I think has a lot of people bear in the back of their mind. And that was that Ollie Watkins was offered to Arsenal by Aston Villa. And that is categorically untrue from anything I know or I've heard. That is untrue. It is not a true statement. It is not in any way a basis of fact. And that has been that was taken, and a lot of people have run with that and said, well, Ollie wanted to go to Arsenal. He was offering himself to Arsenal. Ollie was offered. The club wanted him out of here. The club wanted him gone. They wanted him gone. They couldn't sell him, so they sold John Duran instead. Complete. From every single thing I've heard from anyone that maybe might have ties to the clubs. I don't have ties to the club. But anyone I've heard, that's absolute codswallop. he was not like it to the best of any available information. He was not offered to Arsenal, and I think since then it's been a long road back from him because that got out, that became a thing, and then it started to be he's missed 27 or 28, whatever it is, big chances in the league this year, the most of anybody else. A very fair criticism, and that's the fair criticism. And then it came to a situation whereby we didn't get to the Champions League. And then there was a dark cloud, I suppose. There was a dark cloud for 6 or 8 weeks after the league finished. We didn't get to the Champions League. Ollie had missed a couple of chances in the run-in, but we were in a massive winning run. Again, or a massive unbeaten run, should I say. But it was the way things finished at the end of last year. Then we move into the PSR wars that we had in the off-season just gone. So the reason I'm bringing all that up is because in the ensuing 12 months, Ollie Watkins' form has also noticeably dropped. And that is that's a fair criticism of anyone. And again, remember that we've subsequently found out that he has been carrying an injury for quite some time now. Undisclosed as to how long it is, but that he's been carrying an injury. And Aston Villa don't have a regular, serviceable other striker to start 90 minutes. Well, they do, Daniel Mallon, and that's really it. So number one, the fact that Aston Villa have been doing what they've been doing over the course of this season since they've turned things around has been nothing short of magical. Absolutely magical to be able to do this with goals from all over the field, all over the team, and not having to do it with concentrating on the striker. But Aston Villa are going to need to concentrate on a striker at some stage. And if Ollie Watkins can't get back into form, I think they are going to have to dip into the market in the coming transfer window. Whether it be, and that's no surprise. That's not, any hot take or anything like that. That's not any inside information. I think it's just you look at the squad, and it's one of the areas whereby we need more from that part. We're squeezing blood from a stone in other areas of the field, and we're not getting the requisite return from our striking department. So that got me kind of thinking, what would Unai Emery want? What would he want? When we look back and we look at some of the strikers that Unai Emery has signed. When Unai Emery was at Valencia, he signed Roberto Soldado, 2010. He signed Carlos Bacca at Sevilla, another good striker. He was also signed Fernando Llorente in 2015, Ciro Immobile in 2015 for Sevilla. That one didn't really work out from memory. At PSG, he signed Mbappe, Neymar, and Jesse Rodriguez. It'd be nice if we could get Mbappe and Neymar in their pomp, but alas, that ain't going to happen. At Arsenal, and I know that he's more of a winger. These are more wingers, should I say, but he signed Martinelli and Nicolas Pepe. At Villarreal, another winger was Danjuma. And then at Aston Villa so far, he signed John Duran, who we're led to believe that was in the offing with Johan Lange previous to Unai Emery coming in. And that's really it as a central striker. You could maybe class Nicolo Zaniolo as one, but I'm not going to. Obviously, there's been Moussa Diaby, there's been Morgan Rogers, there's been Philippe Bedes, there's been Lewis Dobbin, Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, all that kind of stuff. So they've all been signed as well. But I'm talking about an out-and-out striker. And I suppose Rashford should probably be put in that bucket as well. Rashford really should. He was the one who hosted Ollie Watkins for that PSG game. But outside, really, I suppose, when we look at that, outside of the John Duran purchase and the ones at PSG who are mandated upon him, you can be almost guaranteed of that. He signed either older and experienced strikers or kind of younger, unheralded strikers that would fit his system. And I'm wondering if that's the template he's going to use in this January. I'm wondering if we're going to sign a striker that's a bit underwhelming for Aston Villa fans, but can come in, can work to his system in short term, can provide relief for Ollie Watkins, can have spot starts. Maybe if he gets 8 to 10 starts between now and the end of the year and comes off the bench in every other game, along with Mallon. Could we have somebody that could provide that type of, I suppose, that type of relief for Ollie Watkins? And that's something we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks. Before I go any further on this, I just want to play a small advert for NordVPN. And as I said, they are sponsoring this podcast into the middle of December again. And I really thank them for their time in sponsoring the podcast. So just with that, before we come back, and maybe I throw out a couple of just pie in the sky, maybe wild names from the top of my head at a bargain basement value, let's listen to something from NordVPN. Oh, wrong one. Hey everyone, today's show is sponsored by NordVPN, the VPN service that's got your back online. It's the Boubacar Kamara of VPNs. In this digital world, your privacy is under constant attack. Hackers, trackers, and nosy ISPs trying to intercept your data. But with NordVPN, you can encrypt your connection, hide your IP, and browse securely from anywhere. Whether you're streaming your favorite shows, working on public Wi-Fi, or accessing content from abroad, NordVPN's lightning-fast servers ensure no buffering or slowdowns. Plus, for us football fans, it's perfect for catching those Premier League matches that aren't broadcast in your region. So switch servers and you're in. I've been using NordVPN for months, and it's a game changer for peace of mind. Right now, grab their exclusive deal. Head to nordvpn.com/FTLoPM to get a huge discount on their 2-year plans. Over 70% off when you sign up at nordvpn.com/FTLoPM. And with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. Villa fans, don't get caught offside online. Secure your win with NordVPN today. And thanks once again to NordVPN. And if you look up here, this QR code here should bring you directly to NordVPN as well for that offer. Coming up to Christmas, that might be something you want to do. So thanks so much to NordVPN. So this striker issue, we have to talk about the PF, what is it? PSR, SCR issues as well that Aston Villa have, because they're a huge part of this. Are we going to be able to spend in January? Have we, it looks like we are going to sign Allison from Grêmio. He's more of a right winger. He's more of a behind the front man type player. Does that free Daniel Mallon to be the number 9? Maybe it does. But I still think that Unai Emery, if he does want to have an assault on staying so elevated in the Premier League and on the Europa League also, he's going to need somebody that's going to be able to dovetail in there. As I said, even if it is his only spot starts or coming off the bench, because he's going to want options. Because much and all as Allison is going to come in here, I cannot see him starting and taking the world by storm here. He's going to need time to learn. So who do we look at? Where do we look? What type of player do we look at? We're going to do more of a series on this coming up over the course of the next few days and through the breaks over the Christmas to keep some of the content flowing for you guys. But I think there's a high possibility, as I said there, that there will be an unheralded striker that might come in through the door. That, I'm not sure we're going to get a Rashford type loan signing. We may very well do. I don't know. I've got absolutely zero inside info. There was an awful lot of information or an awful lot of conjecture going around about would Ivan Toney come to Aston Villa? Ivan Toney started putting hands on people in London recently, or lobbed a head on somebody allegedly recently. I don't know if he's going to be Aston Villa's cup of tea at this moment in time. Do we go to Saudi and see if we can bring a player back to come in and to help, maybe a name player? Do we want to go down the name player route? Do we want to go down the try and retrade a Philippe Coutinho route? Do we want, and obviously speaking of a striker, I'm not even sure of what strikers would be over there. Maybe a Firmino, maybe try and pull a striker back from there that's gone over there. Maybe Matteo Rettagui, or however you pronounce it, from Atalanta that moved out there. Maybe he doesn't get on with Brendan Rodgers because he's going to be his new manager. Or maybe he wants a loan move, or maybe he sees the club and goes, I'm out here 6 months now. I'm not really enjoying this. I want to move somewhere else. Do we go somewhere like that? Do we go and do we pluck somebody from the MLS? Somebody who's gone through a season, who is still match sharp, bring him in. The risk on that is that they have a lot of mileage on the tires already. But if they're going to be a spot starter, like, do you go and do you bring in somebody like a Hugo Kuipers from Chicago Fire, or do you bring in Peter Musa or someone like that from FC Dallas? You know, guys that would cost you maybe 5-6 million. And I know I didn't pick the two best strikers in the MLS, but they're just two strikers that are European based. They're of a decent age. I think they're only about 27, 28. They moved over to that league. They've scored quite a high clip in that league. I think Kuipers might have 50 or 60 goals since he's been over there. You know, and is there an opportunity to maybe get them to come back for minimal outlay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million euros, whatever the case may be? Does he go down that route? Or what does he do? Does he bring in a younger striker? It's going to be really interesting, and I genuinely don't know. Is there money there? Like, will we magically find money somewhere maybe to go away and, I don't know, plucking somebody again? I'm just thinking of somebody who's out of favor kind of at the moment. Alexander Sorlet at Atletico Madrid. I'm not saying that he might be a fit or may not be a fit, but let's say Unai Emery likes him, wants to bring him in and can maybe spend 20 million on him. Maybe someone like Dovbyk at Roma, another big striker, another big guy who can play that lone role, who would probably work in an Unai Emery system. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. It's going to be really interesting as well to see, do they stand pat? And do they stay with Ollie Watkins and Malin? It's ballsy, but we've done it before, where we've got into the seasons with only two strikers and one of them being unproven. In John Duran, I mean. And then John Duran, look what came of him. Unai Emery got the most out of him by harnessing his natural talent and by harnessing his maverick nature. Didn't work out because there's only so much harnessing. You know, you can only hold back the river for so long before the river, you know, blows through the makeshift dam. And that's what was going to happen at Aston Villa. And I think it's probably fair to say that's what happened to him in Saudi, John Duran. And who's to say it won't happen to him in Turkey as well? He's going to be banned from when we go to play him. So what is Unai Emery going to do? And I really think that people should be, that this is going to be an interesting window to see what happens. Am I expecting them to bring in somebody? I hope they do. But am I expecting them to bring in somebody? I kind of am. And whether it's a loan or whether it's a signing, I think I'm preparing myself more so than anything. And it doesn't matter if we're third in the league, fourth in the league, second in the league, or God forbid we're top of the league when the transfer window opens. We still have the PSR issues and the SCR issues. So for me, I'm beginning to kind of steel myself that it will be potentially a striker that we're maybe kind of going, I don't know what I've signed him, but he's a kind of a body at least type of striker. And I'm kind of oddly, in a way, come to peace with it. I'm kind of oddly already come to peace with it. Now, go away and prove me wrong, Monchi, or not Monchi anymore. Oof, Freudian slip. Go away and prove me wrong, Olabi, and go away and pick up one of a great young striker from Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Colombia, wherever, and bring him over to Aston Villa and get him to hit the ground running. But I think with the fighting on both fronts that Aston Villa are going to be doing, or maybe three fronts with the FA Cup as well, I think that Unai Emery, and with just judging by the names that I've read off there, all of those guys were experienced players when they were bought. I think Unai Emery is going to want an experienced player and someone to come in as an experienced backup. That's if he doesn't want Daniel Malin to start up there full time, and he may very well want to do that. So yeah, this is a longer podcast than I thought it was going to be, but thanks so much everybody for watching, for listening. As I say, we will do a little series. We will talk about maybe some strikers that from maybe less heralded leagues that maybe could come in and offer some respite, I suppose, in that striking area for lesser money. And we will do a small series on that. If you guys have any suggestions for somebody that you would like me to take a look at, bear in mind, I'm not going to look at anybody who's going to be 30, 40, 50 million, because I just don't believe that we're going to have that money there. But if there's anybody that you think is a decent shout for a decent price, pop them in the comments below, and I would absolutely love your opinions on strikers as well. And let's crowd source this series as well, because I really enjoy it and I like looking at strikers. So I would love your guys' opinions on people too. So thanks so much, everybody. And we will be back again with more podcasts as we lead up to Manchester United game at the weekend, a game that I'm really, really looking forward to. But in the meantime, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the